Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of the Cultured Nerd Podcast. Guess what? This week we're going to be talking about Green Lantern. Apparently the new Lantern series is starting up and getting its pre-production ready, preparing its filming, and it sounds like they've got Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart already in casting phase, and we may actually already know who's going to be wearing the Emerald Ring. So let's sit down, let's talk about the rumors, let's talk about the news, let's talk about everything in between, and let's get right into it. And here we are.
Just so everybody at home knows, we'll address the elephant in the room. It's 1 million degrees outside right now. It is very hot. So if you hear anything rattling or fans in the background, apologies. I have to have them on.
Yeah. Michael will die if he's not kept warm.
It feels like we're Smash Mouths walking on the sun, and it is too hot. I feel like Pedro from Napoleon Dynamite. It's too hot. I might have to take a bath.
Right. So let's just get right into it. Let's not waste any time. So
Taylor, the picture you sent me, so inviting, so delicious. Are these names actually being talked about?
Yes. So we know that the upcoming Green Lantern series, officially called Lanterns, was picked up and is officially moving forward on HBO. The show is going to be an 8-episode series connected to the greater DC universe. And we know that it will follow Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart, 2 members of the Green Lantern Corps, on an intergalactic team charged with defending their zone. These 2 intergalactic cops are drawn into a dark Earth-based mystery as they investigate a murder in the American heartland. The idea behind this show is that we have Jon Stewart, the new rookie Green Lantern, taken under the wing by the Honor Guard member Hal Jordan, and he's going to be showing him the ropes while they're doing an investigation. So it's going to very much be like a True Detective with Green Lantern rings.
Okay, so if that's the case then, and I'm looking at these delicious boys you sent me, we have to cut out all right. He can't do it. He already did True Detective.
But he very much can. So here, we're going to go into it in a second. We know that this project is moving forward with, let me see if I can grab the names of everyone who's working on it. It is being, showrunner is actually Chris Mundy. He is known for True Detective and Ozark, so he's very familiar with this project. It's also Damon Lindelof, Watchmen, Leftovers, Lost, Tom King, Mr. Miracle, and Supergirl, the comic book writer. They'll be serving as executive producer and co-writers for this project with Mundy. So this project has got a very starboard, like you got Chris Mundy and Damon Lindelof. They run the TV realm. They have a very great track record. And to make sure that their shit's on point, they got Tom King, the DC comic writer, who is going to be working as co-writer on these projects. So this is a huge recipe of success. So as we begin,
it's so great to hear that a TV show is bringing in TV professionals to treat it like a TV show. Now, it'll be part of the greater universe, but you have to tell stories differently. And funny enough, bringing in a comic book guy will probably work pretty well because treat every episode like a comic book, right?
Unless it's one big story arc and you have to me it sounds a lot like what they did with the Swamp Thing show, where it's very setup show, very horror driven, but very well done. You had the right people, the right talent. The problem with it was that there was just some budgetary issues that ended up ballooning the project, and it just didn't work out for the small outlet that they put it on. So as we move forward, we know that front and center, we had Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart. And earlier this weekend, we had a couple names come out very quickly from a relatively unknown source. They are an outlet that actually backs DC film news. It is called Nexus Point News. They came out with this huge deal that Josh Brolin had been offered the role of Hal Jordan. However, as the weekend went on, it was actually corroborated by several scoopers like Daniel RPK, My Time to Shine. They all kind of chimed in, but the big one was actually Jeff Schneider, the reporter who's got a track record better than all of them combined. He actually came out and said, yes, this is accurate, and here are some of the other names on the short list. And as the weekend progressed, we had Josh Brolin was apparently given the primary offer, but if he declined, the other names in the room were Ewan McGregor, Matthew McConaughey, Timothy Olyphant, and Chris Pine. And apparently, in the pecking order of how this deal goes, Josh Brolin was the first pick. Second pick is actually Chris Pine, and then Timothy Olyphant, and then the other two. So
okay. I'm gonna let you know, Taylor. That order is the order I would put them in as well. Let's start with Josh Brolin. I feel like Josh Brolin, around with all the Deadpool stuff, they kept asking him, like, are you coming back as Cable? And I feel like the TikTok I saw was him being like, I wish somebody would call me. So I feel like if people are calling him, he's going to pick up the phone. Did you watch his Twin Peaks in Oklahoma show? Did you?
Oh, yeah, the Outer Banks. The Outer Range. Sorry, not the Outer Banks. That's the Netflix surfer thing. The Outer Range. First season was absolutely fantastic. Second season kind of lost me a bit, and then it got canceled. So I liked the first season a lot. It very much felt like Twin Peaks with cowboys, more so than Twin Peaks with cowboys was.
I don't think I've ever seen Josh Brolin in a TV show. Yeah. How does he do over the course of multiple episodes?
He does great. Actually, the show was very much carried by him, and the mystery and everything that every scene he was in, he commanded the scene, and he did a fantastic job. So. If anyone wants to see his ability to perform on a TV show, check out just a few episodes of the Outer Banks, the Outer Range. If you like it, keep watching it. Get to season 2. It does end, and the show is over. But
let's talk about name number 2 on the list.
So first thing that a lot of the internet was upset about when they saw the name Josh Brolin is 56. And people were like, oh my God, that's too old to be Hal Jordan. What's going on? But then I went on the internet and said, by the way, everyone, if you remember the timeline of how Green Lanterns work, it is unexpected that Earth has had 6 Green Lanterns over the course of 3 years. So there's a good chance that a lot of these Green Lanterns have been deputized over the course of a couple decades.
That makes it's if you get an older Green Lantern, it's
that means
easier to justify the timeline.
Yeah. You can say that this Green Lantern has been Green Lantern for maybe 15, 20 years, but the reason Earth never really dealt with him is because he was protecting the sector. Sure. He was doing his Green Lantern duty, and now he's on the Honor Guard where he works primarily in Oa. But then it cuts back to Superman. We have Guy Gardner, Green Lantern number 2, played by Nathan Fillion, who I believe is 52 or 53. Yep. So age-wise, that makes a lot of sense that the first 2 Earth Green Lanterns are in their 50s. Or, second name on the list, Chris Pine. Chris Pine is 44.
And I have to tell everybody, every time I see Chris Pine in a movie, I fall in love with him. He is gorgeous. I love him. He does fun things in movies. He's the best. Every time I'm like, I don't know if I like him, I watch a movie with him in it. He makes bad movies good.
Yeah, he's the best, Chris. And DC has had him for years. He's got a great relationship with DC. He was in the 2 Wonder Woman movies. The best part of those movies for a lot of people.
Squandered in the second movie for sure. In a very selfish storyline. But I like him a lot, and I think he's very charming. And he's also done he did that great Western movie with Angel. What's the name of that movie? The Angel from the X-Men.
Angel from X-Men?
Troubled Water with you'll pull up his IMDb. You'll look it up.
I don't know what you're talking about because I haven't seen that. I've seen him in a lot of other things.
I've seen him in a lot of other things.
I mean, he was very, very popular for a lot of people with his portrayal of Captain Kirk in Star Trek. And the best part about his Star Trek role was that they asked him, how did you approach this character? And he said, I played him like I was playing Han Solo, which is the best response.
It's so true. And it's so funny that that braggadociousness works so well. Wow, what a great God, he would have been a great Han Solo.
He would have been a great Han Solo. I don't see that. I know he played the Outlaw King. He played Robert the Bruce. which was a big character in history.
Okay, you're ridiculous. Chris Pine, Internet Movie Database.
I'm on his database. He played Jack Ryan once. He played some voices. He played This Means War with Tom Hardy. I know. I really liked him in the D&D movie. That was a fantastic film.
He was great in the D&D movie.
His career started in The Princess Diaries 2 in 2004.
Right. Not Outlaw King, not Wet Hot American Summer.
He was in Wet Hot American Summer?
Hell or High Water.
Oh, yeah.
And if that's anything what this country stuff's going to be, I think he would be great in that too.
Yeah, I mean, he's a fantastic actor. And if you want to play an older, grizzly Hal Jordan, look at him lately. Like he's so funny because if you see a lot of his photos that have been coming out from like the tabloids and TMZ and stuff, he's walking around in tennis shorts, like short shorts, tank tops, Hawaiian shirts. He looks like a homeless person, but he's got a very high net worth and he just does not care. And he's really funny. So he's the kind of person that is very much comfortable in his own skin, doesn't care about the grits and the glam, but he's also played pilots a lot. And he actually has that vibrato that works for a ace pilot like Hal Jordan. He was also been fan casted as Hal Jordan for like the last decade. So,
interesting.
A lot of people want him as Hal Jordan. So the fact that he is the number 2 if Brolin declines is a huge deal. And the possibility that Brolin would decline is simply because this is not only an 8-episode series, but it is a greater DCU commitment. So this is like a 10-year commitment no matter what you do.
Okay. Before we talk about number 3, I want to go to number 5 on this list. I think Ewan McGregor is a terrible choice for this show.
I agree. But because I don't know if he can pull off an American accent.
I was going to say the exact same thing. Just let him be a British dude. There's other characters he can be. He should not be this American dude.
Okay. Isn't he Scottish? I mean,
I will miscountry him every time I talk about him.
No, you're actually right. He is actually born in Perth, UK. He's actually British. I thought he was Scottish this whole time.
He's very good with those accents. He's not good with an American accent.
What has he actually done an American accent in? I mean, Moulin Rouge, did he have an accent?
No, he was.
He sang in that one.
No, he was British in that one. What? I mean, all the British people play Southerners. What movies has he played a Southerner in?
I don't know. Has he played a Southerner in things?
Not Ian McKellen. What's his name?
EWAN. Ewan.
Ewan McGregor. This says Scottish actor, Taylor.
But he was born in the UK. Like it literally says he's from the UK. Maybe he was raised in Scotland then. I don't know. Maybe I was right the whole time. The internet made me doubt myself.
Listen, I'm already seeing, when I Google his name, I'm already seeing these rumors that you are talking about right now.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan Kenobi. No. Oh, was he American in Birds of Prey?
He was like Italian.
You girls are gonna get it. I don't know. Yeah, was he Italian? I don't remember. Birds of Prey. What a wild movie that one is.
I know a lot of people did not like that movie. Ewan McGregor saved the movie for me. Everything he did as Roman Sionis was the funniest thing on film. Like, I loved when he was like torturing that family, and then like the girl he's like, I'll spare you, and then she like started sneezing and snotting. He's like, ew, okay, kill her, just cut her face off. And he like walked off, and I was like,
he might be American in Men Who Stare at Goats, which is all about remote viewers. He also might be American, and I can't remember, in The Island.
No, he was still Scottish.
In Big Fish, he plays like Southerner, right? Like
he's Southerner. But Hal Jordan is not a Southerner. Hal Jordan is from California.
Which leads me to number 3. Let me just also say no to old man number 4 to the left.
Right. No, Timothy Oliphant could be a fantastic pick, and I think he actually would be a fantastic
No.
pick.
I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about the guy from Dazed and Confused.
All right. Yeah.
I don't think he's great. Taylor and the internet. Let me give you an impassioned plea. I think Timothy Oliphant would knock this out of the park.
100%.
He is TV royalty, in my opinion. Deadwood and Justified are fantastic series. And in the movie, in the movie version where he plays a movie TV actor, knocks it out of the park in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah.
I think he has skirted Hollywood and has not committed to being a superhero in a very, I would say ever, right? Maybe.
The only time he ever dipped into the world of nerd, according to the internet, is when he played the Marshal in The Mandalorian.
He was playing his classic Western character.
He was playing himself in Boba Fett.
He was so good. I think that he will commit to this because of this TV forwardness, and I think he'd be great. Are we even talking about the casting? Are there any rumors about who his partner is going to be?
Yes. And this is actually what the more interesting part is, because where it comes from. So, according to the interwebs, none of the scoopers have actually dropped any names for who Jon Stewart is, the younger of the Lanterns. However, the writer of the show...
is it Finn? Is it Finn from Star Wars?
No.
Okay.
No. So the writer of the show actually on social media has been following people, and people are paying attention to who he's now connecting with. And the two names of the people that are now connecting with are none other than Damson Idris and Aaron Pierre. These two fellas are brand new to his follow list, and perfectly in line with the age and look for Jon Stewart of what they're going for. So a lot of people who paid attention to this saw this and said, "Oh wait, are these the two in the mix?" So this is actually something that's coming out that people are now believing that these two guys quite possibly are front runners or testing at the very least for Jon Stewart.
Does Jon Stewart? Is there any chance that both of these characters are in the Stewart family?
No.
What are these two actors known for?
So Damson Idris he's pretty new. He recently just got off of a show by the name of Snowfall on FX.
Yes.
He was also in a few random things like the movie F1 that's coming out next year. He was in a couple of little ones like Outside the Wire, Farming. He was in that weird Amazon show Swarm. The one with the bee chick. He was in like Commuter and a couple other things. He's actually relatively unknown.
It sounds like a person that could really cut their chops and commit to this, and they don't probably have to pay as much as you're going to be paying a Josh Brolin.
Right. And then you have Aaron Pierre, the other fella, and he is actually has a little bit more to him. He is the younger of the two. The first fella is 33. He is 30. Aaron Pierre is most notably known for like the more recent M. Night Shyamalan movie, Old. He was in the TV miniseries Underground Railroad. He played Malcolm X in the TV series Genius. And he was in Krypton. He actually was a Kryptonian in that one. So he's actually part of the DC world already in some capacity. But he has only had just 10 projects total. So
are
very much an unknown.
These men known for their stunts? Have they worked in these capacities of some of the things that they might be doing in a movie?
Not that I'm aware, but I do know that Aaron Pierre, the fella in the center here, he's actually the taller of the two. He is 6'3". He's a much more physical actor, like he's a lot bigger. And Jon Stewart in the comics is an ex-Marine / an architect. So he actually has that physical prowess already that he could play an ex-military type.
How often are Green Lanterns doing fisticuffs? I've seen Green Lantern punch somebody, but usually they're doing fun stuff with the ring. How often are they having to like physically assault somebody?
So one thing that I thought was pretty cool in the original, the previous Green Lantern show that was supposed to be coming out for HBO Max before the takeover, before everything changed and that show got canceled, there was actually a script in that original show where two Green Lanterns got stranded because their batteries they lost the charge and they couldn't get back to their ship to the batteries. So they had to like forage and fist fight their way off of this planet.
Make spears and things.
Pretty much, yeah. So they had this whole episode that was like kind of like a horror chasing thing where they were like being hunted down and they didn't have their Green Lantern, so they had to be like smart and physical for the whole episode. I could very much see them still use that concept because it was a great concept for a show.
Yeah, and you want to give if you can just, I mean, the Green Lanterns are now science fiction, but they're magic rings. It started as magic, like they just do what you want them to do based on your will.
Yeah, I mean, they were always science fiction. Even in the previous, like, I mean, you had the Alan Scott with his magic and his weakness of wood and all that stuff, but
it would.
Yeah, it was a weird time for the comics.
Do you think they'll lose their powers the whole season, or you think just for a little bit?
I think for maybe like half of an episode, like they'll have something that they get cornered, and they're like, oh no, we're not going to run any trouble. We don't need to charge right now or whatever, and boom, shit goes sideways. Here they are.
So in terms of, Green Lantern has been brought to an audience before, and it really was not given the delivery that it needed, and it wasn't a character that's really gelled with people. How do you go about introducing, the back lore and the fear rings and the different colors? How does that happen when they're recruiting him and he's telling him? Is this a psychic alien vision that we see at the beginning of every episode? How do we involve all of this lanternism, because in the show, what they're going to be doing is walking around and like investigating something. Well, how do we get all this other space stuff in there?
Flashbacks, training on Oa, stuff like that. Like talk about like, remember your training. We went over this, and then cut back to him on Oa, training him some like technique or some issue that they have to be relevant for the task at hand. Like
now,
we talked about this. This is what we do, and then it goes back to him on Oa training him.
And I feel like the other thing that's not being talked about, if we're talking about the main leads, does that also mean that all of these other other characters? Does this mean a new Kilowog is coming?
Everything. I mean, it's a new universe, so everything. Like we could possibly have a new Tomar-Ray, we could have a new Kilowog, we could have everybody, and that's the thing. I mean, we don't need to have them in this show because this is an HBO show, but you can also have, say, if you have any sort of involvement with the Lanterns on film, you can bring them all in. So I mean, you have John Stewart. You've got also another big rumor. Here's a big rumor that Kyle Rayner may actually have an appearance in this show. So they're not only are they setting up John, but there's a possibility that they'll be setting up Kyle as well, which is a pretty cool snippet that I've been hearing.
Have we heard anybody now? Do we see Kyle? Is there any talks about who they want to play Kyle?
I haven't heard anything about that. I just heard that he might be in the show.
Okay.
So I haven't, beyond just the rumors that he's in it, that's all I got.
If these rumors are popping up and scripts are being made, that means things are happening. When is this show plan on filming? Have they released a production schedule?
Well, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. The show is actually supposed to be filming January, February. They're going to start filming right after the new year, around the same time that they're going to be filming Supergirl in the UK. So it sounds like, again, they're hitting the ground running. So it makes total sense that they would be casting right now, just because this is when you get it done. I mean, right now it is September, and if they're going to start filming in 3 months, they got to like have everything locked in.
Is there any chance that some of these other heroes that they've been talking about that we might see, is there any chance that we get like a Green Martian or something? Martian Manhunter. Is there any chance we get characters like that in the show?
It's fully possible. I mean, you have a murder mystery show, and that's kind of where you would probably see Martian Manhunter's detective John Jones. That would actually make the most sense where that character would possibly show up. So I'm just kind of curious to see how they do it as in the True Detective style, because like True Detective and Ozark have these very unique looks to them, and they don't have this like fantastical fly around planets look in those shows. So I'm very curious to see how they're going to pull it off, but they know what they're doing.
Yeah, Ozark, and Ozark also, when I think about that show, it had a couple of like key areas that we kept going back to. There was the family house, there was the casino, right, with the girl. Like there was like these big areas that you would go back to.
Yeah.
And then when I think of True Detective, especially that first season, even with the procedural nature of that show, there was still kind of a horror element and kind of a supernatural element with this killer, right? Like they didn't
especially at the end with that weird like funnel of fire stuff, like there was a lot of like, I don't know, is this demons? What is this?
Yeah.
So they definitely did that, which I thought was I'm totally like, okay, maybe this might be a very unique take, but it could very much work for a horror aspect for Green Lantern.
You know, that also might work for a Green Lantern show where they show up in the middle of America and they're like, yo, this was demons. We're pretty sure the Baptist preacher saw it. It's demons. And they're like, actually, it's an alien race that looks like demons. They're actually not. We call them blankety blanks.
And it could very much be like, it actually may not even be any of those things. It could just be Sinestro manipulating the fear. So
it's got to be Sinestro, right? Like, that's the other thing. Sinestro's got to be cast. And if I'm looking at that list, is there any chance Timothy Oliphant could be Sinestro?
I don't see that happening.
Okay.
It would be pretty interesting if they went that route, but I don't see them going the route of casting someone like Timothy Oliphant as Sinestro. I could see, I don't see any of them playing Sinestro, to be honest.
Maybe a British guy?
Maybe a British guy.
Maybe a British guy.
But it's a very interesting place right now for this show because, again, you had all these rumors for years, right? Where the Green Lantern show was going to happen, the Green Lantern movie was going to happen, and it was always the same premise that the older cop and younger cop, lethal weapon in space, and now that they've got control over Green Lantern, because that was the thing, a lot of people didn't realize that the biggest stumbling block before was Jeff Johns and his Ghost Studios or whatever it was called. They were the ones holding hostage Green Lantern when nothing ever happened with it up until now. Once they basically kicked everyone out of the room, got the DC studio set up as an independent studio, then they basically said, okay, now we're going to do what we want without these other people. So they finally were able to make this happen. So it's very interesting that some of the ideas that were toyed about earlier are actually still happening with the older cop, younger cop. And the idea that we could have someone like Josh Brolin or Chris Pine or Timothy Oliphant as Hal Jordan to a younger Green Lantern, it actually adds a new layer to the Green Lantern lore, because you have the first human Lantern, Hal Jordan, did so well that they needed a replacement for him, so we got Guy Gardner, and we already saw Guy in Superman, but now he's setting up another Lantern, and Earth, apparently, the planet that they said humans can't be Green Lanterns, Earth's produced 6 or 7 of them at this point. So you can't do that in this very tight, this all happened in 5 years, so all the Lanterns are like 30. So it makes sense that of that list, of the short list of Hal Jordan, the youngest one is 44. That still makes him pretty older compared to the Superman actor, right? But it also, if you do Chris Pine, you could also still have that relationship of, oh yeah, so the Green Lantern for the Justice League is going to be John Stewart. And that's kind of what's been coming out, is that John is going to be that Green Lantern. But you also have this idea that if you use Chris Pine, he can have that relationship with Barry. He can have that relationship with Ollie, because, yeah, he's 44, but he's not like 60.
I want Timothy Oliphant. I'm putting in my final vote. I'm putting all my chips in that basket. That makes sense as well, that you're going to have a younger, because you're going to be filming a lot more of those movies, and you probably don't want to pay someone as much as that, which is really great, but you get them in universe. I think getting one of these tentpole actors will attract other big names, and oh boy, I'm ready to watch it. Yeah,
like the more I was honestly very surprised when I saw all these names come out, and I was very happy with them, because yes, Matthew McConaughey is the weird choice. He's kind of like the dark horse of this group, but I'm also like not against it. If he got it, I mean, he is a fantastic actor, and that also again shows the quality of the DC universe, that these are the names that are auditioning for a TV show.
Right. That's a great point.
Like, none of these guys, I mean, Josh Brolin being the only one who's been all over Marvel, this is a huge move to have him come over to DC if he does that. But then none of the other 4 have done anything except for DC content or no Marvel content entirely. Like, you got 2 DC actors and 2 actors that haven't done anything for Marvel or DC. So
You got two spacemen. You got Star Wars. You got Star Trek. You got the other Marvel guy. You got a TV royalty, and then you got Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah, who was a Chris Nolan guy from Interstellar. And Chris Nolan has had his hands in DC for a very long time, and anything he says, they still do.
Yeah.
But on that note, I want to know what people think. I want to know if they want any of these names. I know when I put these out, people started freaking out over Josh Brolin, and the more names came out, the more people were like, oh my God, this actually might be fantastic. So in the end, who do you all want to play the Green Lantern, Hal Jordan? Sound off in the comments. Tell us what you think. And while you're there, head over to patreon.com/theculturenerd. Help us out if you want to keep this show going. Anything helps. And if you don't want to support us monetarily, go ahead, scan that QR code, head over to our socials, like, comment, and subscribe to this video, and go ahead and bug us on the socials. Tell us what you think, because there's posts for every one of these things. So if you like the casting, go ahead, sound off in the social media posts. Get that algorithm to work in our favor. But on that note, thank you all for joining us. I have been your co-host, Taylor Murphy. Michael Santel has been I have been your host, Taylor Murphy. Michael Santel has been the co-host. I'm just letting slip that Michael's taking over the show, and he's going to
Hell yeah, I am.
But on that note, thank you all for joining us, and we will see you next time.
Bye, everyone.